Good afternoon, friends. This is our electronics product design lecture number 12. In this in this lecture, we will going to cover the topic importance of documentation for the maintainer. In last lecture, we have go through the documentation types of documentation, right? And we are coming up to the point towards the importance of documentation for the developer. Now we will move further towards the importance of documentation for the maintainer. You might have heard of self documentation code. Okay, the idea is for function to be written in a readable form, so that to find out what is a function, what does a function, you just read the function definition, right? For every small pieces of software that can be achieved, but imagine a large piece of software, say with about 1,000 functions. Okay, such software is built up functions upon function. One function typically uses a few others that are defined in the same collection of 1,000 functions, with the exceptions of the bottom level function that only use the library. Okay, what you got from this paragraph? Okay, we know the self documentation code, right? The idea is for the function to be written in a readable form, so that to find out what a function does, you just read the function definition for very small pieces of software that can be achieved. But imagine a larger piece of software, say with about 1,000 functions are there. Such software is built up function upon function. One function typically uses a few others that are defined in the same collection of 1,000 functions, with the exceptions of the bottom level function that only use the library. Okay, suppose that the software has no internal documentation and relies on self documentation code. Now you want to understand what a particular function does, but it uses three other documentation functions. Okay, so you need to understand what they do first. Each of those uses two document undocumented functions, so you must read their definition too. It goes on and on. You find yourself reading thousands of lines and code to understand a single function whose body is only 10 lines long. Clear? The only way that everyone can work with undocumented software is to reverse engineer the whole thing and add documentation that should have been written by the developer. Most of the time, this is too difficult. Undocumented software is often just thrown away as unmaintainable. What happens if we have software, no internal documentation is there, and relies on self documentation code? Now we want to understand what a particular function does. But if it uses three other undocumented functions, so you need to understand what they do first. Each of those uses two undocumented functions, so you must read their definitions too, right? It goes on and on. You find yourself reading thousands of lines of code to understand a single function whose body is only 10 lines long. The only way that anyone can work with undocumented software is to reverse engineer the whole thing and add documentation that should have even written by the developer. Most of the time, that is too difficult. Undocumented software is often just away as unmaintainable. Okay, the following are typical software documentation types. Okay, request for purpose, requirement or settlement of work, scope of work is there. Software design and functional specification, system design and functional specification, change management, error and enhancement tracking, user acceptance testing, man pages. The following are typical hardware and service documentation type. Network diagram is there. Okay, the network map, datasheets for IT system, service catalog and service portfolio is there, right? In software documentation folder, a document type of software document written in a simulation industry is the SDF, the developing software for the simulator, which can range from embedded avionics device to 3D terrain database by way of full motion control system. The engineers keep a notebook telling the development, the build of the project or module. The document can be wiki page, MS Word document or other document environment. They should contain a requirement section, an interface section to detail the communication interface of the software. Okay, it means common type of software document is there written in the simulation industry is the SDF. Okay, then when developing software for a simulator, which can range from embedded avoidances devices to 3D terrain database by way of full motion control system. The engineer keeps a notebook detailing the development, the build of the project or module. The document can be a wiki page, MS Word documents or other environments is there. They should contain a requirement section, an interface section to detail the communication interface of the software. Often a note section is used to detail the proof of concept and the track error and enhancement. Finally, a testing section document how the software was tested. These documents conforms to the client requirement. The result is a detailed description of how the software is designed, how to build and install the software on the target device, and any known defects and work around. This build document enables for future developers and maintainers to come up to speed on the software in a timely manner and also provides a road map to modify code or service for the bugs. Okay, the software tools for the network inventory and configuration. Software tool for network inventory and configurations are studied detail in next. Software tool for network inventory and configuration. Okay, the software tool can automatically collect data of your network equipment. What software tool? It automatically collect the data of your network equipment. The data could be for inventory and for configuration information. The ITIL library requests to create such a database as a basis of all information for the IT responsible. It's also the basis for IT documentation. Example include XIA configuration. Software tool for networking inventory and configuration. These software tools can automatically collect data of your network equipment. The data could be for inventory and for configuration information. The ITIL library requests to create such a database as a basis for all information for the IT responsible. It's also the basis for IT documentation. Example include XIA configuration. Records are there. As we know, we record every time we take a record, or in college practicals are performed by you, then records is submitted to the mentor or subject teacher for marking, right? It means a record and documentation. Set up your award file at the start of the project. The more complex your project is, the more important an organized file becomes. Most projects span multiple years and involves many collaborators. Personal may change during the project. Having clear project documentation set up set you up for success to meet project requirement. Deadline and reporting include a calendar to help with completion of regular reports, invoicing and other scheduled tasks, and note your UW budget number. Final action date is there. The documentation used for proposal, preparation and submission is the foundation of your project file. Review the sponsor's project announcement and award document as you set up these files. They typically specify implementation and reporting requirement for the project. Carefully review and implement records retention guidelines for the UW Records Management Service. Consider information that need to be documented and retained, fiscal as well as the non-fiscal. How to document unusual unusual circumstances. Consider first one, what you have to consider information that need to be documented and written. Okay. Next is how to document unusual circumstances. Okay. Third, how we need access the file. Okay, who will need the access to the file. Then coordination with other participants to obtain information for the file. Okay, co-invisitors are there, super recipients they are there. Okay, project due dates, financial and programmatic reports, protocol, renewals, deliverables, etc. Storage and security options is there that best fit your needs. Audit requirement is there. Records are subject to audit, so be audit ready. Review guidelines for being audit ready. Right? The concept of record, in short, concept of record is are the collective form of written data that are made for future use. Clear best example is your course file or practical file. They are the memory of the office. Record management is an art of handling and maintaining office records from the time of creation to the time of disposal. Office records are the information documents used by the organization to carry out its major function. It is also defined as the material and data prepared for the future reference. It includes written paper, invoices, reports, vouchers, files, etc. Clear? In short, record is a collective form of written data that is made for future use. Okay, they are memory of the office records. Management is an art of handling and maintaining office records from the time to creation. Right? Read this paragraph carefully, you will get the idea.
types of records are there. First one is correspondence record, second one is accounting records, third one is legal records, fourth one is personal record, fifth one is progress records, and sixth one is miscellaneous record. In first, corresponding records, corresponding records may be created inside the office or may be received from outside the office. For example, letters, circulars, memos, notice, etc. Clear. Corresponding records from office. Take example of our college office. There is they give us a notice, letters to the students about the cultural event, about the exams and all that are present in correspondence records. Okay. Second one is accounting records. The records relating to financial transaction are known as financial records. For example, cash receipt, deposit slip, sales records, profit or loss statement, vouchers, balance sheet, etc. uh, what is the example for accounting records? When you uh, pay your fee to the accounting section, they provide you the one receipt and they also take one receipt from their reference. Uh, this is the example of accounting records. Next is legal records. The records that meet the legal requirement of the organization are called legal records. They maintain the legal procedure and help in fulfill the legal requirement and formalities. The documents involve memorandum of association, article of association, government and regulation, etc. It can be presented at the court in legal records. What happened while doing the legal records in that home agreement or flat agreement is there, it is or a marriage certificate is there, it can be used in a court as a proof, right? That's why it is called as a legal requirement or record. Professional personal records, the records that are related to the personal of organization is known as a personal records. It includes personal history card, salaries and bonus to employee, their promotion and work history, history of absenteeism, name, address, morality, etc. The records that are related means what the staff, number of staff present in a department that have a personal file with in office which contains the information, basic information of the staff, their ID proofs are there, salary sheet is there. These are the come under the personal record. Okay. Next is the progress report record. The record that gives the information about the progress of the organization or department is called as a progress record. It includes the record of sales, purchase, cost, budget, liquidity, and so on. In progress report, what happened in suppose consider there is an ENTC department is there, then in the current year 2020 21 or 21 22, how many equipments are purchased, how many CROs are purchased. These are the records come under the progress report. Okay. Records. Third is miscellaneous records. The records which are not covered by or above type of records are known as miscellaneous records. They are related to the expansion, diversification, and other activity of the business. What happened? Which records are not considered in the above types like the progress record, personal records, legal records, accounting records, or corresponding records that come under the miscellaneous record. Okay, they are related to the expansion, diversification, and other activity businesses. Next is principle of record management. There are 7 principles are there about the management of record. They are the principle of purpose, principle of verification, principle of classification, principle of reasonable, principle of elasticity, principle of retention of records, and principle of availability. Here we are going to study one by one. First one is principle of purpose. While maintaining the record, the purpose of record keeping should be clear. Records without the purpose are waste of time, labor, and money. The purpose of record keeping should not be suitable for organization. Means what? The if it maintain any record or if we maintain any record, they should have any purpose. If we want to further in future it is usable, then and then only we have to make a record, otherwise it is a waste of time, labor, and money. The purpose of record keeping should not be utilized for organization. Okay. Okay. Then next is purpose of verification. There must be evidence of all the documents that are preserved in an office. If the verification is not possible, it is not value of proof in court. Principle of verification. We will have an evidence of all the documents which are preserved in an office. In the verification, it is not possible, then it is not used as a proof in court. Next is principle of classification. All the records should be classified on the basis of documents. All the records should be classified on the basis of document. Proper classification of records help to avoid confusion. It helps in proper evaluation of business performance. Records should be classified on the basis of nature of document, right? Proper classification and record help to avoid the confusion. It helps in proper evaluation of business performance, right? The principle of reasonable cost. While maintaining the record, the cost factor should be considered. Therefore, the valuable information should be recorded systematically and useless information should be disposed. Next is principle of cost. Reasonable cost. We have to consider the cost factor should be okay. Therefore, the valuable information should be recorded systematically and unless information should be unless information should be disposed. Here, principle of electricity. The process of record management should be elastic in capacity, that is, it should be capable of being expanded or constructed according to the requirement. Principle of elasticity. The process of record management should be elastic in capacity, that is, it shall not be capable of being expanded or constructed according to the requirement. Sixth one is principle of retention of records. The main objective of record management is to preserve the required document for future reference. The unnecessary document should be disposed. Therefore, according to the value and importance of the record should be preserved. Next is principle of availability. Principle of availability. The record are preserved for future reference, right? Then it should be protected in such a way that the required information should be easily available. The record are unless if they are not available in the current time. For example, there is one documentation file in my home, then I have to take it in a good manner. All the documents should be clear. Principle of availability. Records are preserved for future reference. It should be protected in such a way that the required information should be easily available. The records are unless if they are not available in the current time, right? Retention and disposal of the record. Retention. Retention is defined as the preservation of the records for future reference. It involves correction of preservation, classification, and protection of records for future reference. It is maintained in files, right? Computers, etc. Every record has lifespan. It is protected according to the importance. Retention of records depend on the nature of organization. Importance are: first one is record are preserved for future reference. The record should be accurate because human mind may forget the information, but recording the records is perpetual. Hersey's record should be taken as record. Real records and hard copy of record should be maintained that will be helpful in the time of legal disputes, right? Next is human minds cannot store all the information in their brain, therefore records are to be maintained. They help in future reference, right? Records provides various types of information which help in making decision. Retention help to delete errors in a records, right? It help in making comparisons. Procedure for record retention: first is classification of records, determination of record or retention schedule. Third step is transfer of records. Fourth is protection of vital of records, and fifth one is deconstruct of records, right? In classification of the records, it helps to determine the value of all the records. It classifies the records according to its importance and usefulness. Second one is determination of record retention schedule. It helps in development of retention schedule. The retention period should be predetermined. The period depends on usefulness and legal requirement. Third is transfer of records. It means transferring of records from active files to inactive files. It is useful because the less information files are transferred, the inactive records are shifted to the least expensive storage area. And fourth one is protection of vital records. The important records must be protected. They should be protected from firing, damage by the waste, water and insect, etc. Fifth one is deconstruction of record. The useless records are deconstructed. The records which have value are stored and other are disposed with the help in the creating space. Disposal of records. Clear? Once created and used records must be destroyed. The destruction of useless records is for disposal. The records are not stay forever. Office manager must wisely dispose all unnecessary and useless records. It helps in creation of specimens. If there is one cupboard is there is all files are stored which are needed in future or which is useless. Then we have what we have to do. We have to find sort useless and useful files into slots, and useless record should be deconstruct, right? Destruction is dispose, काढून टाकणे. Clear? Importance of record management is the importance of record. There is a six importance of record. First is preservation of record. Second one is evaluating progress. Third one is facilitate cooperation. Fourth one is helpful in decision making. Fifth one is efficiency in operation. Sixth one is evidence. Okay. First one is preservation of record, in that it helps in management and control of important records. It helps to protect unnecessary records for with care and dispose unless useless records. Okay. It helps in management on control of important records.
It helps to protect necessary records with care and dispose useless records. Right? Second is evaluating progress. It helps in evaluating progress of organization. It helps in prevention of history of organization. The past records show direction to organization. It helps in finding out the weaknesses and strength of organization. Record management gives the amount of progress and direction in which organization is going on. Clear? Third one is facilitate comparison. Record management helps to evaluate business progress and performance. It helps in comparison between one period of time and another or between some type of business. Okay, performing helpful in decision making. Records are the memory of business. It is useful for future decision making process. The study of past records shows direction for future. It supplies information to organization whenever it is needed. Therefore, it helps in taking decision. Fifth one is effective efficiency in operation. Record management helps to provide required information with speed and accuracy. It helps to make office work efficiently and effectively. It helps to increase the efficiency of the office. Clear? Sixth is evidence. Record act as evidence of in the time of dispute. It is important that for the settlement of dispute, it can be shown as a proof in a court. Okay. Concept of record management. Record management is an area of office management which deal with the maintenance of record of organization. It is very important for management for control of records. It is an art of handling and maintaining office records from the time of creation to disposal, and the records are systematically maintained to preserve for future use. Record management refers to the activities designed to control the life cycle of the record. Okay, stage of record management. Uh, First stage is creation of record. Second is storage of record. Third one is use of record. The fourth is disposal of record. These are different stages of record management. First one is creation of record. It is either the first stage it is either it is the first stage of record management. It is the most important stage. In this stage, records are either created inside the organization or the received from the outside the organization in form of letters or notice. Clear? Creation of record. In this stage, the records are either created inside the organization or received from the outside the organization in the form of letter, notice, all are there. Okay. Second, storage of records. It is the second step of record management. Once record is created, they may be retained or protected. This stage is also known as a retention of records. It is prevention of records for future reference. The records are recorded in such a way to that it can be easily located in the required time. Okay. Next is use of record. It is the third stage of record management. In this stage, the stored records in the past are used for planning, organized, deciding, and preparation of the account as so on. Disposal of records. In it is the fourth and last stage of record management. Records cannot be stored forever. Outdated records may be destroyed or disposed. Clear? Then accountability is documentation, an important responsibility that goes along with the accountability. Officers positions is properly document your work at any scene. For this, I use an accountability sheet. An important responsibility that goes along with the accountability officer's position is to properly document with your work at any scene. For this, I use an accountability sheet. On my sheet, I keep track of the date and time accountability was started. Also, the time that I need for checks. I document location and assessment of each team as well as type of airbags used by the member of each team. When the assignment or the location of each team changed by the hearing it from the IC or from the team leader himself, it is my job as the AO to record it. It is imperative that the AO keeps his information current. For example, I am watching the scene and I notice a team walking past a window on the second floor. I then look at my sheet and have no records of anybody being on that floor. It is now time to find out what team it is. Okay, the accountability officers can never be ashamed to say that he does not know where anyone is. He must immediately rectify that problem. One thing that I like to do to help assure that my information is correct is to ask for the term location after a park check. This does not mean that a team is lost. I am just double checking my information. The team leaders and IC have become aware that I do this periodically. There will be time when you first start using this system that this will happen. Through training and constantly using this system, the accountability officers and team leaders will become more in sync. It will become second nature for team leader to report their location, and after a while they will do it without thinking about it. Getting back to the sheet, when a location of the team changes, I put a line through the old location. Then I write the new information directly underneath. It is important to still be able to read the old information. This is used later for the after synthetic use in the ABET IT organization. We have developed a standard accountability report sheet. We attach this sheet to every fire report to prove through documentation. We use accountability on every sample NFPA 1561. There are those of you out there that will argue that we don't have to follow OSHA or NFPA standards. But if you have a line of duty, injury, or death and you have failed to follow the nationally organized standards that are available to each and every department, paid and volunteer operating in the United States, you are setting yourself up for liability. When I call par, if I do not get an answer immediately from a team leader, I wait for 10 to 15 seconds and then I call them team again. There may be there may be no reason that they did not hear me. For example, the ratio that they have might not be working properly or have a dead battery. Also, the environment that they are operating in, it may be very loud. If I do not get a response a second time, I need to look at my accountability sheet to see their most recent location. If they are in rehab or at the air station, I will not make a recommendation for command to reactivate the RIT team. I simply call rehab and risk if that team is there, and if they have power. We all know in rehab that the first thing you do is take your cost off. A percent ratio is usually left in their court, right? If the team is inside the business structure, At first, by using my should determine if there another team is working in the same area. If so, I will check the status of the first team with them. If there is no area in their area, I will then report the available information to who will then determine whether or not or active the RTI team to initiate a rescue. The AO will then continue to be a part checks or the remaining team to ensure that everyone else is okay. All of the information available will then be transposed to the command to use. For example, if the second floor of the structure were to collapse, I can now tell command what team was there, who is the team, what type of package they are wearing, approximately how much air they have left, as well as the basic medical information for all team members. This is wealth of information for the team providing the rescue. Okay. There are times that you will not use accountably with tax for incidents such as some motor vehicle accidents, disaster fines, car fires are anywhere are personal are in view of the AO. Visual accountability is acceptable must be properly documented anytime personal operate out of your line of sight, and tax system must be used. In my experience with setting up accountability system, it seems to me that proper documentation of accountability has got overlooked until it is needed. Hopefully, we can take a more proactive approach to accountability as a whole and have it when we need it as opposed to wishing we had it when we needed it. Okay. Accountability principles. The accountability principle requires you to take responsibility for what you do to the personal data and how you complete with the other principles. You must have appropriate measures, records, and places able to demonstrate your compliance. For more information, in next lecture we will continue with accountability principle. For this, in today's lecture we will see we had to see importance of documentation for the maintainer. Okay, after that we see here we will go through the records, software records are there. What is record? Okay, what is record management? Which factors you have to consider while management service? Concept of record, electronic document is there or not? Storing electronic records are there. Types of record is there. There are 7 types. There are 6 types. First one is correspondence records, accounting records, legal records, personal records, progress records, and miscellaneous records. We must go through all the details. Principle of record management. There are 7 principles are there. First one is principle of purpose, principle of verification. Third one is principle of classification. Fourth one is principle of reasonable cost. Fifth one is principle of elasticity. Sixth one is principle of retain, retention of record. Seven is principle of availability. All the types of principle we have studied in detail. After that we take concept of retention. Okay, importance of retention, disposal is there. Procedure for record retention we have studied. Classification of records. First step is, second is determination of record retention schedule. Third one is transfer of records. Fourth procedure is protection of vital of record. Fifth is restructuration of record. After that, what is the disposable records is there. After that, we was go to the record importance of record management. There are six importance. First one is preservation of record. Second is evaluating progress. Third one is facilitate compression. Fourth is helpful in decision making. Fifth is efficiency. And sixth is evidence. All the information we was go through the basic concept of record management is also studied. Stages of record management is studied. There are different stages. First one is creation of record. Second is storage of records. Third one is use of records. Fourth one is disposable of records. And in last of the lecture, we go through the concept of accountability. In next lecture, we will start with the principle of accountability. Thank you for today's lecture. All the points are covered in detail. This is the study material for you. You can take it by me from classroom also. It's enough for today. Bye bye. See you tomorrow in next lecture.